Oh, that, the wrap, yeah, the.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
I see.
so let me start recording. Where did Zoom go? Working on my PC right now and I'm so not used to it. I only use it for 3dsMax, that's it. It always takes me a few minutes to get used to it again. Okay, can we see this?
I just see that you, okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay, so let's see. I wanted to first show you. Okay, I wanted to first show you how to get this thickness on here.
Okay, so it actually shows up.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, okay, this is what it normally would have looked like, right? So I took this, you just select it, and then one thing I did was just go to the modifier tab, and then I added a smooth to it. Where's smooth? SS. Smooth, and then auto smooth. You will probably have to do this for lesson 3 for your glass and water objects. So I just wanted to show that, but it's in the modifier setting and in the modifier tab, and then just select auto smooth. And if I select that, and let's see, I'll zoom in on it. When you turn it off, can you see the kind of
yeah, like the cardboard look.
Right. The corrugation, yeah, that just disappears. So you'll definitely want that on when you're working for glass, unless you're going for something that's super faceted, because it's really going to distort the refraction of the glass. Okay. And the other thing that I did, we'll turn that back on. Oh. No, it's not smoothing. Cool.
Yeah,
See, it does that.
that thing gave me a lot of trouble. I don't know what I did wrong when exporting it.
No, I don't think you did anything wrong. I think I accidentally clicked something. What did I do? Well, okay. See, it was just working and now it's not. Okay, regardless, turn the smooth modifier on. Okay, and then, so you notice here it says editable mesh. So if you click within that, you kind of go into this, let's see if I can drag this down. You see there's vertex, edge, face. These are selection methods to edit the mesh. So we're going to go into polygon, and see, now it's smoothed. Don't know what's going on. We'll select the whole thing. And then when you click back on editable mesh, you see all the different options. There's edit geometry when you scroll down. And for some reason, everything is let's see, hide unselected. Okay, so we'll select everything and then go to extrude. You can just extrude it and whatever. Wait, why is it doing it like that?
See, it's like a haunted file. I don't.
Yeah, because now it's not doing it as a solid. Select the whole thing. You wouldn't believe me because it was just working.
No, I don't believe you. I see. Oh, which way is it? Oh, it's
That's
moving
what I
away
don't
from it.
know. I don't know. Let's just undo. Okay, I'm just gonna add another edit poly. Why not? Oh, that's what I did wrong. Okay, you do edit, you go to the modifier list and then edit mesh. The same thing works for if you have a polygon, like if you make a NURB surface in
Mm-hmm.
3dsMax. Okay, my apologies. So then
Okay.
we'll select the geometry, and what this does is extrudes it normal to the surfaces. There we go. Okay, so we can give it a bunch of thickness. But one of the other things that you can do, Matthew, especially with yours, if you go into the, I believe it's the surface properties. Can you see this? It says
Mm.
normals. So you can flip the normals, right? And you see what it does right here. Right
Yeah.
now they're facing out, right?
Uh-huh.
That single surface is kind of facing out and it has no backside to it, which is why it was rendering white. So when you flip it, then they're now facing in. So when you render, you'll actually see the material on there.
Okay.
So either of those work. Okay. And I went ahead and made a VRay camera because I've never actually done this with the regular physical camera in, where is it?
Oh, like the place. I did like the place from like where your current window is setting. I can't remember what it's
Right.
called.
From
Under the
the,
create, and then camera, and yeah, create
right.
physical camera.
Oh, look, I was just doing this. When you're within this edit mesh, you can't select anything besides the mesh. So you have to like double click on it. And then you'll notice when you're, I guess, back in the normal mode because you get the little XYZ gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's see, I'll find the VRay camera. We'll just delete that. But let's try with the one that you created. Like I said, I've never played with those, so I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so within the regular physical camera, and it's pretty similar in the VRay camera, we can look at that too. All you have to do is check the enable depth of field under the focus settings. So it's like physical camera, and then you go down to focus and then depth of field. And you would ideally make sure that you have the use target distance on, because that kind of sets the focus distance at the target box. So you would kind of want that box like, pointed at whatever you want in focus. Let's see what else is in the setting.
Where does the camera focus if you don't have that checked?
I mean, the camera is going to focus wherever you have the target at. If you have this box checked, Hannah, targeted, because if you don't, the camera is just kind of pointing. But I prefer to use the targeted method because you can move the camera separately from the target, right? And this little window will show you, what you're looking at. Ooh. Another trick, I don't know, have either of you discovered this? In this selection toolbar up here, you can just select, wrong one, over here. You can just select like cameras, for instance. So I can't select anything besides the camera. Super useful. The same goes for, lights, geometry, whatever you're trying to select. So like I was saying, right, the camera can move separately from the target in all dimensions. See, that setting the select only is super helpful when you need to use the orthographic views. This is usually how I work too in this, especially when you're angling things, it's super helpful. But yeah, so we'll set this, I don't know, right there. And another thing that you want to make sure that you have checked is it's called an environment. It's in the environment settings. If you go to the render tab up at the top toolbar, and then environment. Alternatively, I think you can just press the number 8 is the shortcut. So you would go to effects, and you can see I have one in here already, but you go to effects tab, and then you would add depth of field. And it gives you pops up a bunch of different things, but you have to select the camera. Because for instance, you might have one camera that you want the depth of field on if you're doing like an up close shot of something, but you might not want that on for everything. So you go to pick cam, and then let's see, I have that one selected already. You can just select it in the viewport. And it says physical camera 3. And then for the focal point, you want to click use camera. That will use the target distance that you have set already. And again, for focal parameters, just use camera. Okay. There are also some other fun settings in here. You can do tilt shift. You know, that's the effect that gives you that like tiny miniature setting, you know, when people photograph like cities and it makes people look like they're miniature. That's the tilt shift. That's another thing that you can play around with. And the same goes if you're using a VRay physical camera. Like I said, I prefer to use those because I'm familiar with film photography, but it's not necessary. You just get more to work with. Especially in terms of like the exposure and the lighting. Let's see. Where do I want this? Ooh. But I mean, it's definitely not something you have to work with. The great thing that I like about the VRay camera, you'll notice the way that it looks is a lot different than the physical camera. This cone that we're getting right here, where is the camera? So let's see, can you see this in the left view? These kind of 3 planes right here. So, this, let's see, let me draw. This range right here is what's in focus. And that's one of the reasons why I like to use it, because it gives you a better idea of what you're looking at. But anything within this kind of box right there is what's going to be in focus. Things behind that are going to start to blur. Things in front of that are going to start to blur. And it's a great way, you can kind of get an idea without being in the camera of what you're going to see. So, right, without having to go within this view to the camera. I don't know what I'm doing. Something like that. And you know, again, you can go within the modifier settings, and you definitely want to, let's see, what are we looking for? I like to check this setting, the show cone. I like it on always, so you can you know, I mean, literally it keeps this cone on all the time, which is really great when you're moving it around and things. But let's see, you don't really have to change anything else. I personally like to play with the settings because like I said, I know more or less what I'm working with, but you don't have to. You don't have to use this if you're not comfortable. Did either of you like look at that little diagram that I sent with that email?
Yes, I did.
I know it's hard to explain, but so the film speed, like typically in film, you know, the film speed is I guess a number. How am I trying to explain this? The film speed is the rate at which light develops the film or reacts with the film. And film comes in different speeds, so 400, 800, 1600. And that also determines the amount of grain that you have. Those kind of older films are really grainy looking. That's because they were a very low speed film. And the F number, I wish I had my camera. It's upstairs. The F stop is literally the size of the aperture, right? How much light is getting into there. The smaller the aperture, the greater the depth of field effect is. And then the shutter speed is how long, right, that the shutter is open. And when it's dark, the shutter has to be open longer. If you've ever heard the term like a long exposure, or you see those like cars on a highway at night, and it's just like these kind of laser beam lights, this kind of tracing effect, or the comet in the sky. It's because they left the aperture open for a long time. So I don't know, we'll set it pretty high. And shutter speed is over a second. So it's like 1,000th of a second, a 50th of a second, a 25th of a second, whatever. The smaller the number, the longer it is because it's in inverse.
So like 8 is, so when it goes from like 50 to 100 to 200, so it's like 1600, that's slower? As you go that way, that's slower?
For the
I'm looking at like
speed.
the diagram you sent, like ISO like 800,
right,
then 16, then 32. That's the that's like, does it get slower as you go that, like, as it increases?
So with the ISO speed, the higher the number, the better it is at exposing to light. Like the quicker that reaction happens, that actual chemical reaction happens within a film camera. Of course, 3dsMax tries to simulate those effects. Let me pull up the email. Let me do it on my iPad though. Let's see. Yeah, so with the diagram, or I guess I could just pull it up here. Why not? And just pull it up in the email because I sent that from my my Mac. Well, where is it? Somewhere in here. Okay. Can you see this, or are you still looking at 3dsMax?
3dsMax.
Oh, geez. I hate how this works. New share. Yeah, so okay, the first number, the f-stop, like I said, is the size of the aperture. And this does a great job in the background of highlighting the effect of that in terms of the depth of field, right? The lower the f-stop, the larger it is. It's hard to explain, but the blurrier the background is. And this number here, the 1/1000 to 1/2 is the shutter speed. Imagine, like I said, this kind of illustrates, this last one illustrates what I was saying about cars driving by or the comets, right? The longer it's open, the more kind of blur you get across the film. And I actually misspoke. The lower the aperture, the less grain that there is, but I'm sorry, the lower the ISO, the less grain that there is, but yeah, I misspoke. it's confusing. That's why I keep this chart handy. Of course, when I'm actually using my camera, you know, there are light meters, there are things that tell you that you're doing it correctly. Even on my, you know, 40-year-old film camera, it's still pretty hard to mess up. You don't really get that in 3dsMax, but the good thing is if it's too dark, you just re-render, you know. But again, these aren't things that you have to try. They become sort of important when we get to animations. If you imagine you have a motion blur, you have something moving really quickly by the screen, you might actually want that to be blurred, you know. And those kind of settings come into play with that, obviously. Okay, let's go back to Max. So now that we have all of that set, I can try to set a render. Are there any more questions about this? I know it's a lot to take in, but I'll set a render and then we can, I can answer some questions. Before I do that, let me check my aperture settings. If we have enough time, I'll do one with the VRay camera and then one with the other physical camera, and we'll see which one is better. I want to get this like super up close. I want some, let's see, some really blurry bats. Okay. Oh, it's so bright. See, that's the other problem with playing with these settings, right? I tend to do a lot of like really quick, okay, is it too bright? Yeah, so then I go back here, I'll change this number again, redo it. Then once I'm kind of happy with what it looks like, just let it go. Okay, we'll get back to that. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. I feel bad whoever has to watch this.